Merge Tactics surely is a confusing game. It just feels like you can never predict what will happen, why it happened, and the things are all over the place. On surface level, the idea is quite simple. You just buy troops and get more stars on them. But if you want to take the game more seriously, you have to know what exactly wins you games. From a logical point of view, every game has some sort of an imbalance where some cards are stronger than the others, but that's only a piece of the puzzle. Besides increasing your stars, the most important thing to win rounds is using units with similar traits, because even though my setup was trash with a frontline archer, I still won because of traits. Wait, you don't know what traits are? Every unit in the game has a main trait and a proficient trait. So basically, every goblin in the game has a goblin trait, and playing them in a group together triggers their buff. And the proficient trait allows you to mix stuff, as you can get a buff from playing a dart goblin, a princess, and an archer. While traits are not the most important deciding factor, as you can see here, I literally sold a Mega Knight to just lost 2 trait buffs because a 3-star queen is more valuable. In higher levels, most of the troops on both players' side are 3-starred, and the entire result of the game will come down to the one with the most and the best traits possible. So in today's video, I will explain every viable 4-trait build in Clash Royale. I mean in Merge Tactics. I'm gonna need some time to adjust. First primary trait, Goblins. The Goblin trait is a support-based trait that gives you a random goblin after every round. These goblins will inflate your elixir economy at the exchange of them being trash, but that's okay, because the 2 other cards you combo with them will change everything. Or you can just sell them all and build a new team at the final few rounds. That's probably the best way to play them. First build, Goblin Rangers. This is probably the best goblin build in the game right now, and given that goblin have terrible stats, your win condition here is gonna be princess. You want to prioritize getting a 3-star princess, because with a ranger buff, she will stack attack speed and snowball into a war machine that has the capacity to wipe out everything in sight. Dart goblin and goblin machine are decent secondary win conditions. While they aren't as important as princess, focusing on them is a better idea than the rest of them. Second build, Goblin Assassin. This one is interesting because the assassin trait will have half your team jump to the opposite side of the board and start attacking ranged cards. Your main win condition here will be the Royal Ghost and the regular Goblin, given those are the units that jump. Golden Knight technically does, but he's weak and not worth investing on, so before they buff it, I wouldn't bother. Honorable mention to Goblin Machine here because its rockets target the most far away troop, so it can directly help your assassins despite them being all the way there. Third build, Goblin Undead. This one isn't as good as the previous 2 builds. The whole idea behind it is that the Undead trait will curse the highest HP unit, which can be an over-leveled backline, and the Goblin Machine will have an easier time taking it out. Skeleton King or Royal Ghost are your main win conditions here. In all honesty, most of the time a 3-star Skeleton King is enough to wipe out the entire enemy team on his own anyway. Fourth build, Goblin Noble. For this build, you should aim to upgrade your princess as much as possible, because she will be the main carry of your team given how goblins are mostly weak as supporters. Knight is used here to complete the noble class with the princess, making every melee troop take less damage and every ranged troop deal more damage. On top of that, the Juggernaut trait from the Knight activates with the Goblin Machine, so make sure to place your tiny goblins below because they would give a shield to troops under them. This build, while looks good in theory, it's way worse than Ranger's Goblin, and I would only go for it if you just can't find an archer, which believe me happens more than you think because of the stupid idiots that keep going for my archers and stealing them. Fifth build, Goblin Thrower. Considering Spear Goblin is one of the 3 throwers in the game, this makes Thrower Goblin combination possible. But in all honesty, I see no value in this build. Sure, it's possible, but it's weak. I don't think you should be going for it unless you had to. Though if you did, I would suggest focusing on the Executioner because he will be your win condition. The problem with this is that goblins aren't tanky enough, and when you have 2 non-goblin spots on your team that are ranged cards, you would be stuck with 3 ranged troops and 2 squishy mini tanks. Second primary trait, Noble. This one will make your melee cards take reduced damage and your ranged cards deal extra damage. It's sort of a support trait, but unlike Goblin, it isn't economy based, so it's not useless late game. First build, Noble Rangers. Likely the best Noble build because Rangers are really crazy strong, and having them get a big damage buff is when things will get real serious. Ideally, you would want a 3-star princess, but since most players will go for her given how strong she is, you can 3-star Dart Goblin instead. He does alright as a backup win condition. Overall, this build provides a nice balance between backline attackers and frontline tanks, and the Noble trait just amplifies all of that. Second build, Noble Assassin. Having a bunch of troops jump on the opponent's side is one thing, but pairing them with the Noble trait to get a 40% damage reduction on them is something else entirely. In this combination, you mostly want to max out your Royal Ghost and Goblin, as those are your main win conditions, since the Golden Knight is underwhelming like I said before. Although regardless of where you place your assassins, they will always jump in a similar position, so they can be easy to counter. In this case, it's probably best to sell your Goblin and disable the jump, and maybe invest in a different combination. Third build, Noble Undead. This one is pretty tough to pull off. Most of the time it isn't worth it because it relies on one single carry being the Skeleton King, and you have to get him to 3 stars, which means if any other player has at least one Skeleton King, you can't go for it because the pool has only 4 copies. Like, even with a modifier that doubles the number of troops in the shop pool, I found it really hard to get a 3-star Skeleton King and ended up losing because I can't count on a regular knight to carry me. Like, what is he gonna do? However, when I managed to pull it off and even somehow gotten a 4-star Skeleton King, which was really rewarding. It felt like Godzilla was walking around and stomping troops one by one. The second undead doesn't really matter that much. You could pick any of them because you just want the undead trait to be active, as it critically damages the strongest unit they have, and it was a 4-star Valkyrie, so that's a lot of value from just a bomber. Fourth build, Noble Ace. This one is significantly worse than even the Skeleton King one because you will get like 5 tanks and 1 princess in the back, and oftentimes you won't even have enough DPS to take out enemy troops. I can see some potential trolling with it on some modifiers, but realistically, while it's an okay build in lower leagues, I think it falls short against some meta builds, so it will be the worse the higher you go up in like trophies or like stars. Third primary trait, Clans. Currently this is the best trait in the game, and basically what it does is whenever a troop goes below 50% HP, it starts rapidly healing, and if that wasn't enough for you, they would also gain an extra bonus hit speed, so they would deal more damage. First build, Clan Avengers. This is likely the best build in the entire game, and nothing comes even close to it, except for the next one, but more on that later. Your main win condition are either your Archer Queen or Bandit. Valkyrie is a good option, but she falls short here compared to them. The Avengers synergy allows your win conditions to gain bonus damage, so they are more effective, and that, combined with how Clan makes them heal and shoot faster, makes them go crazy. And with a Mega Knight, you will activate the Brawler trait, giving more HP to all your troops, and the Ace trait, which makes your highest star troop, aka the win condition, a stronger, more valuable troop. Second build, Clan Rangers. This one could be argued is the best build, but I feel like the Bandit one is better. It's still a very close second. Basically, since Archer has a Clan Ranger trait, you can just add a Dart Goblin and a Princess to the mix. Surprisingly here, Archer Queen isn't the win condition because the Ranger buff only applies to Rangers, so Princess is the one you want to focus on, especially since you can get the Clan buff on it, so she will survive for longer. Third build, Clan Noble. The Noble buff, reducing taken damage by a bit to the 4 clan troops, is very good because it makes it less likely for the enemy to DPS your troops down quick, so it allows them to gain the full maximum value from the healing. I picked Prince here because his second trait is Brawler and it goes with Barbarian. Other than that, the rest of the Noble troops have no overlapping traits, so I went with Knight because it's the cheapest, but it can be changed to anything. While it's quote-unquote the worst clan build, I still think it's extremely decently viable if you focus on maxing your Queen and Valkyrie, as those are your main damage dealers in this build. Fourth primary trait, Ace. I've had people ask me about the purple aura buff. Basically it's the Ace trait, and it applies on your highest star troop, making them as the captain, and whenever the captain kills any troop, the entire team gets a temporary attack speed buff. First build, Ace Thrower. Since Ace class has a decent lineup of tanks and only one ranged DPS, I believe going for Bomber and Spear Goblin can be effective. You want to focus on Executioner as he's the main win condition here, and with enough stars he would be the captain, and the Thrower trait buffs him decently. If pulled right, it will destroy things quickly due to the splash damage, but not having a high level Executioner can lose you the game, so be very careful. Second build, Ace Undead. The Undead trait makes one of the enemies easier to take out, so the Ace buff can trigger quicker and more early on and start snowballing. I picked Skeleton King and Giant Skeleton because of the Juggernaut and Brawler classes that are available on the Mega Knight and P.E.K.K.A, so you'd get something more out of them compared to Bomber and Ghost. I would ideally here focus on Bandit or P.E.K.K.A since Mega Knight sucks as a win condition in general. I personally prefer Bandit because she's really good and can almost always hold her own ground. It's literally crazy that I almost won this round, like, that's really insane. Third build, Ace Noble. Similar strategy as the usual, 3-star your bandit and watch it break everything. The Noble trait will give her some damage reduction, so she will be annoying to take out and will survive way longer. I usually go with the Knight and Prince because of the Brawler and Juggernaut trait that you can go with the P.E.K.K.A and Mega Knight. Bandit and Executioner both have like an awkward 3-count trait buff, so you can't really do much with them. Fourth build, Ace Clan. Just like the Ace build, this isn't really that good. I personally think Ace is only good as a 2-trait buff. Going for all 4 is weird, but you could go for Queen, Valkyrie, since that also activates the Avenger trait. Given the Avenger trait is active, I would pick only one of the 3 Avenger ladies as a win condition, preferably Queen or Valkyrie because the clan buff doesn't go on the whole team if you only have 2 of them instead of 4. I would try to keep the Valkyrie the one with the most stars, so she would be the captain, but I wouldn't put too much focus on that here because it's worth upgrading to a 3-star Mega Knight and wasting the buff on him because 3 stars are way more broken than traits. Final primary trait, Undead. Undead nerfs 1 or 2 of the enemy troops, reducing their HP by 25 or 50%, depending on how many undeads you have. And the cool thing about that is that it will almost always target the troops with the most stars, given how the HP scales with upgrades. Oh, and you get an attack speed buff when the cursed troop dies. First build, Undead Noble. Unlike the 4 Noble 2 Undead abusing Skeleton King, this combo focuses on Royal Ghost as a win condition. Since it's less Nobles and more Undead, it's more aggressive build that abuses the attack speed buff from the Undead to make the Ghost go invisible more often. The Prince and Knight are again here for the Brawler and Juggernaut buff because Golden Knight and Princess are more expensive and provide no additional value, while these would make your Ghost have a bit more HP. Having a Ghost take reduced damage just makes it more frustrating because they barely get the chance to attack him, and now when they do, it just isn't gonna be as effective. Second build, Undead Throwers. This one is probably the best thrower build. And not that it's just a high bar because the throwers aren't really that good, but Undead works the best with them. Bomber and Executioner are the main damage dealers here, and the attack speed buff from the Undead paired with how high their damage can get at max range is really the whole strategy here. One of the good advantages of any thrower build is that nearly no one goes for it, so it's easy to find the pieces you need to complete your team. Third build, Undead Assassin. This plays exactly like the other assassin builds, aka you have to max Ghost and Goblin, although it's like the worst one out of them because the Undead buff just doesn't really provide anything for them. It cuts the HP of the tanks in half. Cool. I'm at the back line, like why would I care? Tanks are dying last, so like the attack speed buff is usually wasted. I just don't see why go for 4 Undead in an assassin build, or even 2 to be honest. Final build, Undead Ace. This is mostly just available as an option, nothing too crazy. The Ace buff could apply to your Ghost or Skeleton King, which could make them more decent, but the issue is you have too many tanks. It's Mega Knight and P.E.K.K.A instead of Bandit and Executioner because Brawler and Juggernaut equals 2 more trait buffs triggered and trait colors equal neuron activations. Really simple stuff. Now that I explained all the builds, I want to say the most important thing in the gameplay is to go for different builds based on the RNG. Like I got an Archer here and a Valk in the shop, so going for clan is the way to go. The game punishes you for deciding on a build before the match and will heavily reward adaptation mid-game, so knowing as many builds as possible is a must. Excuse the lack of humor here, I either haven't figured out what could be funny in this game mode, or maybe because unlike Clash Royale it isn't real time and given that there isn't much player interaction, maybe the game just doesn't have good jokes, my dudes.